Why, aloha, it's Julie and Eric
Z-Melissa
with 365 Hawaii. And today we're going to talk about how expensive it is here to live in Hawaii.
Well, okay, on the other side of that, it could be called cost of living, right? Cause,
That's right. The high cost of living.
Yeah, because for some of you, it's not that expensive to live in Hawaii. But for some of you, that's the reason we're doing this video, is the fact that a lot of people have been reaching out and saying, what does it actually cost to live here?
And you can decide whether it's expensive or not.
Right. It matters. Everybody's got a different threshold of, financial pain. So we are going to hit upon a variety of topics that everybody has to pay for to live in paradise.
Okay, we're talking about housing, and because it's one of the most costly aspects of living here in the island, we need to, of course, address this one first, and Julie's going to give us the numbers to start us out with.
Okay, so we're going to go through Hawaii and also Oahu and Maui, so you guys have a better idea of like the Hawaiian Island chain here. In Hawaii Island, the whole island, the median price for a home is $450,000, and that's up 22% from last year. In West Hawaii, it's $928,000 for a single-family home, and that's up 19%. And in East Hawaii, it's $395,000, and that's actually dropped about 4% from last year. And you can see that the East Hawaii price is almost like more than half more affordable, you could say, than West Hawaii. Yes, half as much. And then Oahu, the median price for the island is $920,000. In Maui, it's $835,000, and for Kauai, it's $975,000. So you can see that we are now up with the big boys.
Well, I think big boys. I think we're higher than the big boys. Remember, in the old days, this used to be considered the most affordable island of all of them.
Yes,
to
in
buy
fact,
a
long time, well, not long ago, like maybe like 6 or 7 years ago, we were almost half what Oahu was, and so our prices have gone up steadily over the last 3 or 4 years.
But again, there are still affordable places. They're just not on the Kona side. Is where it is.
Right, there is not affordable housing on the Kona side, and but the thing is too is I take a lot of phone calls and emails from people looking for housing in the 300 to 400 range. You're looking at one of the reasons why that part of the island is so less expensive than the other side is because of lava zones.
Yeah.
So you can't get insurance, and sometimes you can't get a mortgage on these pieces of land because they could be mowed over by a lava flow, which has happened quite a few times in Hawaiian history. Mm-hmm. Right? So that causes affordable housing on that side, but it also causes people living in places that might not be safe to own a home for. So let's talk about rental housing as well. And Eric and I were just talking about the fact that the price of rental housing has gone up because...
Oh, it's because of the pandemic, of course. Because everybody can take their job, they all want to move here, so therefore, as we're just discussing, the housing prices go up, and when there's less inventory, the rental prices also go up because everybody wants to come here, and now everybody's being forced out, and makes it very difficult for everyone.
Right. So there are some full houses to rent, and those are going for about $3,000 or $4,000 in West Hawaii. But I'm going to tell you a little bit, like to do it more of an apples and apples, about a 1-1 and a 2-2 across this island, and also some other markets on the other islands, so you have an idea. So on the Big Island, we did some research on CraigsList to get like real-time info for you, and a 2-bedroom bath condo here in West Hawaii right now is $2,200. A 1-1 is $2,000. In Waikoloa Village, which is about 40 miles north of here, a 2-2 is going between $1,900 and $2,200. And then in Hilo, which used to be a lot less expensive than West Hawaii, you can get a 1-1 for $1,800, which is very small and very expensive. So in Oahu, the 1-1s are going for about $2,400. 2-1s you can get in Diamond Head. We thought this was kind of fun. A little 2-1 for $3,000. And then in Iwa Beach, which is actually outside of Honolulu, a 2-2 is $1,900. Over in Maui, near the airport on the east side, which is kind of like the Hilo equivalent on Maui, a 2-1 will go for $1,800. And then over in Lahaina, a 2-1 is going for $2,300. So you can see that it's almost like even across the whole spectrum.
We used to be the cheap island, but now we are just up there with everyone else. And one thing that what we didn't include in this information is the fact that that's assuming you can find a house.
Yes,
I mean?
yes, that's what we're talking about, the rental shortage.
We're kind of, there's not a lot of inventory out there, so we're kind of, the prices get a little bit fluctuate at that point when you can't find anything out there.
And we have friends who've recently purchased condos as vacation rentals, and I asked them what they charge to let people stay there for a longer term. And just because their mortgage is so high, they can't really accept anything less than $3,000 for a 1-1. So you have to make sure that you're buying, you're renting a house from somebody who's actually owned the place for a while, so their mortgage can keep up with what they're charging for rent. Let's talk about food costs. Yes, filling your refrigerator every month costs a lot of money in Hawaii. We actually did some research and we found that there's a couple things that we were actually kind of a little bit like, whoa. Milk, which you can get a gallon of milk. We checked Kroger and their milk is running at $2.29 a gallon. In California, it was running a little closer to $4. And here in Hawaii, it's closer to $7. And then same thing with orange juice. Orange juice, $7.29 here versus $3.99 in the Pacific Northwest. So when people from Seattle keep coming here and saying it's not that much different, it is. Loaf of bread you can get like in Seattle and Oregon for, like $4. And here it's closer to $9 unless you get it on sale or go to Costco. So we definitely have some different kinds of food costs. One thing that we do talk about when we talk about if you just don't buy some of the processed and packaged things that have to be shipped here, which adds cost to the food, is papayas and avocados can be your friend. So find people with trees and also farmers markets, that does lower food costs. But when you're also just trying to buy some of the basics for your family, I'd say it's a good 10% higher than, let's say, the Pacific Northwest, and it's probably going to be about 30 or 40% higher if you're in the Midwest and you're literally getting things like strawberries. Strawberries at Kroger's was $4.99. Over here, it's more like $7 and $8 for strawberries. And then another big thing was apples, because we're comparing apples to apples. It was $3.99 at Kroger in the Pacific Northwest, $3.99 in California, and then you come over here and it's $6. So that gives you a little idea of the difference between the basic necessities for groceries.
Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about cars and car-related items. And the big question that everybody asks is how expensive is the gasoline in Hawaii? And today, it's about $4 a gallon, roughly, depending where you go. You can always get it cheaper at Costco, but in general, figure $4. And I'm understanding, depending on where you are on the mainland, could be up to $1 cheaper, really cheap if you're in the middle of the country somewhere. So gasoline is, but you don't drive as much here as you do in the mainland, so it kind of works out for it.
Right.
Some of the other expenses are, we've got insurance, and that's about the same, maybe a little bit more than it is in the mainland.
And use Geico. That's always a good one.
Geico is the one who insures more cars in Hawaii than anyone else. That's not a plug.
Right. We just that's what people say on the newbies group. They always go to Geico. So
yes, they do that. And then let's see. And the registration is roughly the same. They tend to be, on the newer cars, they're cheaper than the mainland, and on the used cars, they're more expensive. So it's kind of a little bit of a flip for that. The other thing we haven't talked about is car maintenance. Car maintenance is definitely much more difficult here. We do not have a lot of people that work on cars. So the cost of that is, shop time, I'm guessing is about $100 to $125 an hour, depending on where you go and what you do. So if that makes a difference compared to, life on the mainland. And lastly is, of course, what's the cost of buying a car here?
Right.
And they tend to be a little bit more money because, of course, there is, the shipping. And at this point, from what we understand, it's about $1,700 to ship it from the West Coast to get here to the Big Island.
Right.
But
on an average basis, you're going to pay at least $1,000 more if you buy a new car on the Big Island because of the shipping costs.
Oh yeah, they add the shipping cost on. So it is definitely more money. So those are roughly the costs of having a car here on the island. But in the scheme of things, you know what I mean? That one won't break you.
It's not going to kill you. And if you get something that's cost and fuel efficient, you can save even more by having less opportunity to spend.
And they do have reasonably priced used cars too.
Yep.
They don't have a lot of them now because they're all been taken out, but people have bought them is what I mean. But in general, there are used cars available on Adam at a reasonable price.
And electric cars are showing up too.
We're starting to see some Teslas and other things as well. All right, so here on the Big Island, we've got taxes, and well, everybody does, but we have 3 different types, and they are property taxes, sales taxes, or GE taxes here, and then state income tax. And the good news is 2 of the 3, we're much cheaper than everybody else. Starting with property taxes, our property tax rate is about 0.2% of the value of the property. And then they give discounts for owner-occupied and for age as well. So you can, of course, lower the entire value of the property, which makes us quite reasonable. And I'll give you an example. On a $750,000 house with no discounts, it's about $4,600 per year for taxes here. That same house in Washington would be about $8,100. So it kind of gives you an idea of how much better taxes are here for property. So that part's not bad. So you're ahead there, and not the end of the world there. And then income tax is California is about 13%, and we're second highest in the nation with 11% income tax. And I guess that's going to determine how much money you make is going to be how much of a change that is. But so interesting on that one. And lastly is the sales tax or GE tax. And what's interesting here about the GE tax, it is one of the lower ones. It's second only to Alaska. But along the way, everything gets taxed before it gets to the consumer. So it's not quite a true tax of just 4%, because if you have 2 people, 2 processes along the way, it gets taxed each time there. But they're a little bit more hidden. So that's why they say that Hawaii definitely has a little more tax than other places. But in terms of, is it going to change, that much from the mainland if you put all these together? The answer is it's probably an even split by the time you get done with everything. One of the other things in home ownership or home renting or some sort of home item is all of the peripherals that go with it. I was thinking particularly of electricity and water and all those. It's got a pig in the background. So the electricity cost here is about 40 cents a kilowatt hour, which is one of the highest in the nation. But before that sinks in, it's probably twice as much as a lot of other places. But we don't use as much electricity in general.
Because we're not trying to absolutely cool our houses, and we're definitely not trying to heat our houses very often.
Yeah, so it's mainly just lights and things, fans and things like that. So ours is always under 150, and we have a 3-bedroom house. So
but we also live at elevation.
Yeah, and we don't run the air conditioning. I hear air conditioning can run up to $300 to $400 a month, depending on how much you run it. So that would put things in perspective. So it'll be a $500 a month bill.
Yeah. So if you live down near the ocean, it's the middle of the summer, you're going to pay more for electricity.
Right. And then after electricity, we've got water. Our water, depending on where you are on the island, is how much water costs. Waikoloa Village, it's quite expensive just by nature that they have their own well, which makes it that way. But here in Kona, it tends to be a little more reasonable. And again,
how much is it? How much?
I think our water bill is about $70 a month.
Okay, $70.
Right.
And we have 4 people living here.
Taking showers almost daily.
Yeah, my kids, they love their showers.
Yeah.
But we don't have a pool or anything.
No pool, and we don't have much landscaping either.
Right. So and also because it's been raining, we haven't really been watering the yard very much.
Right. So just it's comparable to the mainland in a lot of ways for what it is.
Okay.
And then you've got things like cell phone, and that's a dead wash. I mean, they're probably the
Verizon
same.
charges the same
Same here
right?
as it does there.
And then Spectrum.
Spectrum cable, I hear, is a little bit more money here.
Yeah. Some people said they got in for the leader rate at $50 a month, and they got up to $65 a month.
Yeah, but not too bad. So those are the basic things that you have to look out for doing it. So
if you just want to run your life.
We have quite a few. We put a posted on our Facebook group about what you guys thought about how expensive it was here, and we've got some replies that we can sort of quote to give you guys some answers of what other people said besides just hearing us talk all the time.
Yeah, because we asked people about their personal cost of living, and people from different parts of the island and coming from different parts of the country actually responded. So one of the ones I'm going to start with, his name is Ben, and he writes, "We moved here from San Diego after looking into costs on business and online. Moved here in late 2019. Cost of living is pretty much a wash. Some things are more, some things are less. We're in a condo, and things like water and cable are in the monthly assessment, electricity running $150. No gas here, so everything is electric. Internet first year was $49 leader rate. Now it's $65. It's many times faster than what we had in Southern California for the same price. Gas is about the same. Costco, as California, has high gas taxes. We no longer eat the way we used to. We buy fresh produce at the farmers markets and stands. Eating out is pretty much the same amounts, although generally better food and presentation that in San Diego, and combined rates help. If you are coming from places where cost of living is low compared to metro areas, there will be a sticker shock." Let's see. All in all, we found moving here similar to moving to Alaska many years ago from New Jersey, who has one of the highest tax rates in the nation. Few choices on things. Some things are higher, fairly friendly people, healthier pace of life.
Oh, wait. Then, so I can add on to that. That one thing that we didn't cover in our cost of food was the going out cost. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So restaurants, and one of the deals here is that you tend to go out. You know what I mean?
Well, because there's restaurants that are on the ocean here, right? Sunset.
And you start having $18, $19 cocktail at a certain point, and it's a couple poo-poos, and next thing you know, you have a $100 bill. So if you do that, you want to keep. If you want to keep your food costs under reasonable, you don't do that too often.
Right, but conversely, if that's an important part of your lifestyle, definitely put it into your budget. Because if you like going out on Friday night, obviously you can look for happy hour prices and stuff. But if that's something that you actually enjoy, just know that the hamburgers are $15, $17. The drinks are probably $10, $12. So like Eric said, you probably can't get out of a restaurant for two people who are actually doing a pretty good shot at the whole good stuff for $100, right?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah. Somebody else said, we moved from Redondo Beach, California to Kona, and for $100,000 less, we purchased a brand new 2,400 square foot home with ocean view and walking distance to the ocean. Our mortgage is $5,500 in all versus a townhome in Redondo, scrunched in between many other homes. Let's see who else. We also have Christina says, not sure if anyone has mentioned this, but the property tax savings here are significant for us. We moved from a suburb of Portland, Oregon, and even though we spent $400,000 more on our home here, our property taxes the first full year in our home were $2,000 less. So that's a good thing to know too. So those are and for the most part, people also who responded to this were very happy that they have figured out a way to live frugally on this island.
I think frugally is the key here. So
controlling your costs by having your budget and sticking with it, going to the farmers markets and getting food, that's, maybe like later in the day, getting those papayas and those avocados and working with people who have trees and everything else. There is a way to be very clever about getting food, and you just have to say, okay, but there are a lot of people here who are working 2 and 3 jobs to make ends meet, and with the cost of living and the lack of housing, I've also seen some people recently that have had to leave the island.
Yeah, and we included have had to hustle, to keep
hustle, especially with 2 teenagers who love to eat.
Yes,
we're spending $1,000 a month in grocery bills
at least. Yeah, for sure.
So we're just basically, this is like one of our things that we're just doing is that some people are saying, is Hawaii going to work for me? And we just wanted to give you guys some basic costs and what it actually costs to live here. And we hope that helps. We will drop some different resource material in the comments if you guys want to do a little bit more research. But if you have also more comments, let us know. What else?
I think we're good.
Okay, so there you go. Another opportunity for you guys to learn the true cost of paradise.